In the US, one of the major impacts has been on campuses. Freedom of speech, politics, policies on American campuses. Recent self-deportation, as it was called, by a student at the prestigious Columbia University shows, is this the end of the dream for Indian students going to America?
Yeah, if you look at the total number of Indian students studying in the United States, it's 330,000. But this is one way you never expected this to happen to this extent. American campuses have always been very vibrant, very democratic. A lot of protests happened. Vietnam War, if you look at histories in 60s and 70s. One, if you look at, there is a weaponization of the visa system. So once you weaponize visa system, when you are in another foreign country, so you're always afraid of what to do and what not to do. If you are protesting too much against the system or against what the what the American government wants you to do, then it can hamper your visa. If you look at various surveys or studies, some 60 to 75% of the world's top universities are in America.
Jobs for top university graduates are really narrowing. That's creating a different kind of backlash.
Research and the kind of exchange programs, all that are going to be hit.
Welcome to TNI's Worldview. The coming of the second Trump administration has upended various things around the world. In the US, one of the major impacts has been on campuses. Freedom of speech, politics, policies on American campuses. Now, we know that the US is the magnet for Indian students going abroad. It is one of the largest destinations, has been for a long time. It still continues to be so. But as the recent self-deportation, as it was called, by a student at the prestigious Columbia University shows, that not everything is safe and sound for Indian students over there. Is this the end of the dream for Indian students going to America? To talk about it today with us is Jayanth, our diplomatic editor. I'm Amitava, Sanyal, the opinion editor. So Jayanth, it's a large number out there, isn't it? Number of Indian students. So it affects a large number of Indian families back home.
Yeah, if you look at the total number of Indian students studying in the United States, it's 330,000. So if you look at the graduate student, year to end, there is a 19% increase, and it's around over 2 lakh Indian students study there. Right. It's a huge number. Yeah. What is happening in the American political system, thereby it has its implication in the university system, is raising a lot of concern naturally in India. Because you have seen self-deporting student, a lot of protesters being tracked down, grants being withdrawn, slashed. Even some of the biggest American universities are slashing jobs. They are unable to expand their programs, extend grant to students. A lot of these things are happening. But this is one way you never expected this to happen to this extent. But if you look at what this MAGA campaign and things to that effect happening, if you look at a speech by J.D. Vance way back in 2020, he has publicly said that professors are enemies. Because this is a very kind of a McCarthyan kind of a replay. They believe a lot of this university system, which are anti-American, because they're very left-liberal kind of people. So they don't align with the conservative thinking.
Isn't it ironic for a country, for a person like J.D. Vance, who went to Yale and then married the daughter of an immigrant?
That's true. But the point is that his politics is not his personal life exactly. So I don't think he will be speaking like Obama, this is the only country where my dream can come true. But it's completely a different kind of a situation.
True.
Now. So what is happening in the university system, which is really alarming in many ways. When American campuses have always been very vibrant, very democratic, a lot of protests happened. Vietnam War, if you look at histories in 60s and 70s, alternative history, all kind of things happened there. But now that there is happening a lot of discomforting things. One, if you look at, there is a weaponization of this visa system. Of course, if you look at legally and technically, that is the right of the giving country. They can do with the visa. So even when they give visa, the red lines are drawn. But you never expected this will happen like that. So once you weaponize visa system, when you are in another foreign country, so you're always afraid of what to do and what not to do. But students, they don't always behave. Behave in the sense that they will be more charge towards what is happening around them. There will be a lot of protest, and they will be joining causes like what is happening in many campuses across the United States for Palestine. So that has become a very dangerous kind of a situation there. If you are protesting too much against the system or against what the what the American government wants you to do, then it can hamper your visa. Your visa can be revoked and you will be sent back. So in this case also, the Indian student, she had to self-deport. Because either she would have been sent back, so she opted for declaring that I'm going. So she escaped to Canada and she's still staying there. So this is happening. But I think there is also a larger issue involved here, which is the American universities have been a robust centers of researchers. If you look at Duke and universities like that, they do a lot of research in medical science, cancer research, brain research, health research. So once this grant is reduced, then what happens is that public health research will get affected. You can't think or you can't believe that private companies will be a substitute for public funded research, which are benefiting a lot of people. Any private company coming in, they have profit as their motive and they have a limited remit in getting into a particular kind of research. So the larger research ecosystem that will get affected. That is also another aspect of this fund.
And given the STEM background, the sort of subjects that so many Indian students go to America with the background of this sort of research grant reduction makes a huge difference, isn't it?
Absolutely. And also America's global influence, the software influence, a great deal of that comes from this university system. Like America, if you look at numbers, America will have some 4% of global population and 25% of global GDP. But if you look at various surveys or studies, some 60 to 75% of the world's top universities are in America. And if you look at most of the people who are in power in many parts of the world, including some African countries, they all benefited from the American university system, which was publicly funded in many ways. They came there on scholarship, grants, the American government gave them some kind of a assistance program. So they go back and spread the American word and goodwill, and a lot of that have been happening for a long period of time.
It's part of public diplomacy.
Public diplomacy, soft diplomacy. That helped Americans to improve their image in many parts of the world, especially if you look at the agriculture research. Many of the agricultural ministers in many parts of Africa, they all went to America to study or to be part of their system. So Americans were also reaping a lot of dividends out of it. Like they bring in people there, they go back as the ambassadors of America, and they were also benefiting from that. So that is also getting hit with these kind of measures.
In the background of all this is also a tightening job market in the US, isn't it? Especially for college graduates, there are jobs being created every month, though fewer than were created last year, we are told. But jobs for top university graduates are really narrowing. That's creating a different kind of backlash from the Americans First, MAGA support base of Trump, isn't it?
That is true, but I don't think statistics support this. If you look at most of the jobs are created in manufacturing sector. If you look at Trump's first term, Joe Biden and now, so the contribution of America's manufacturing sector to the GDP and the job creation thereby more or less stagnant. But America is in a better off compared to other European countries. If you look at the new wave of industrialization, which is digital economy, most of these companies are in America. So the chances of America creating more jobs are more than chances of European countries, for example, even Germany, which is an automobile giant or engineering giant, creating jobs. But I completely agree with you, this kind of stagnancy in the job market has been one kind of a ruse for the American right-wing establishment, or whichever way you look at it, to make this kind of an arguments. But if you look at the job creation numbers, but this is stagnant for quite some time now. But they have made a case out of it, and people are believing them, especially the white Americans, their core constituency, they are believing this. So there is a backlash, and also you should see this is a kind of an America. They may not say that they are withdrawing into a shell, but at least they have decided they have to downsize their own influence. Which way they are looking at it and which way they are seeing at it, that only time will tell. But university systems and the university research and the kind of exchange programs, all that are going to be hit. They have already hit because of this USAID fund cut and measures like that.
All the deans and directors of centers at universities that had a target to bring so many foreign students over because they are lucrative. They make an enormous amount of money. The total number of... But the two largest sending countries, China and India, are now... It's dipping, and it might dip even more, the number of students going. China is already much lower than it was, say, 5 years ago, and India has started dipping, it seems so. There is also the other thing that doesn't get captured in reported incidents all the time, which is racism, raw racism on campus by Republican supporters at not just Indians, but people of any other ethnic minority seen on the campus. That does something, especially when through an executive order and then others following that executive order who are not within the federal government system, like universities, they have dropped the diversity, equality and inclusion programs, DEI programs. Many of them have been scrapped. So these Indian students don't have a place to go and seek redress. What does that do for them?
That's a very valid question. First of all, there is a major crackdown on all this liberal value system that a lot of students go for that. So if you look at Moscow University has also produced a lot of Nobel laureates. But people don't prefer to go to Moscow University the way they go to Yale or Harvard or Duke or any other American university. So that is because the value system there, the freedom there, the liberal atmosphere there, which actually promotes
and the comfort
of the language, a lot of things like that. Yeah. But that is getting affected now. Because if a country is issuing country has decided, they will go very arbitrarily about the visa system. It is a very dangerous thing. You have to be always on your toes because you are not a deciding authority. What action of you will be constituting a visa violation. So if you are a student, there will be some protest, you will be making some remarks, you will attend a seminar, somebody will be organizing. So it's no need to be very alarmist over these kind of issues, but you have to be very cautious. Because if everything is related to your visa, then the State Department has an upper hand. Like they can decide. Because these are very arbitrary kind of decisions in any way, visa issuing and visa regime of any country.
True.
So when they have decided, you have to subscribe to our conservative value system or our scheme of things, and we will decide which way it should work. Then all these known facts or known situations about the American university system is gone. So you have to be very cautious and you have to be very careful about what you are doing on the campus.
So in sum, what should the Indian student, any Indian student in the US, be ready with? What should be in the toolkit of such a student, especially given, as you said, first of all, it's arbitrary. The issual and withdrawal of visa from any country can be an arbitrary act. No one needs to explain it. But we have seen in recent times, even judicial orders about deportation has been contravened, has been flouted by the Trump administration. There are court cases going on, including about students from Colombia, which are about flouting judicial orders. So in such a situation, such a turmoil, what should the Indian student be ready with?
But I think this turmoil will be curtailed to some extent because like you earlier said, a lot of these Indian students or Chinese students, foreign students, they bring in a lot of money to the American system. So most of these universities which give all this free scholarship research, a lot of this money is also recouped through these foreign students. So it will not go on forever like this, number one. Number two, if you look at some of the decisions taken by even Columbia University, they are willing to toe certain line. It's not that they are completely taking a rebellious position against the Trump administration, which anyway they can't. So they are also coming out with guidelines. You can do this, you cannot do this. Now the students will be advised to follow all these norms very carefully. So you will be now told, I suppose, most probably, like these are the things you can do, these are the things you shouldn't be doing. In American system, the worst case scenario, they also give you an option of self-deportation. Like there is an app, and if you want to leave the country without they sending you or throwing you out, you have the option of doing it. That is also a better system. But once that happens, if you're deported, that is an entirely different kind of a scenario. Then your going back is a very difficult thing. So if you are self-deported, if the administration changes, some rules changes, then your chance of going back and, for example, completing your study or again taking up another course will be more. But how soon these in the aid and the grants, that will be another thing. Because most of the universities will be slashing the staff strength. Some of maybe closing down some of these programs. Some of them stopping these fellowships, scholarships. So it will be a very difficult thing for a lot of Indian students who want to go there and study. But again, America is a capitalist country. So once they know their money is hit, they will find some way around. But it will be only decent people can go there and study kind of a situation it could be. So that you have to watch out for. What you say on the campus, what the seminars you would be attending, all these things will be difficult. And also if you look at the visa regime, not only for students, the visa regime is getting very tight. So they are like, you must have read about all these reports about certain countries, people they don't want, and all this compliance system will be tougher. Anyway, American visa system is very regimented and very tough. But there are relaxed categories, especially students were one of them. So now that is going to change. So American visa regime itself is undergoing a lot of change and a lot of tightening. So student visa is also now part of it. So I think one thing good about the Americans is that what you have to do and you don't have to do, they give you a lot of instructions and manuals. They are very good at that. Yeah, so
it's a land of rules. Very litigious people, yes. Right. So as Jayanth said, it is going to be a bit of turmoil, at least for a while. Students over there would do well to go by the rules that their universities or colleges are signing up for under the Trump regime. It is going to be temporary as they find a way to bring back more of foreign students. But for now, just be careful on campus. This was Worldview. Thanks for watching.
thank you.